Okay, so I hit that 15 minutes a little unexpectedly, and it just took me a few minutes to upload that video somewhere else. So I'm not really sure what I said about this slide, but I'll just kind of jump into it. So the focused evaluation model is a standards-based model, which means each lesson should be connected directly to a standard, and that standard should be connected to kind of a progression of learning towards mastery. So the performance scale, which is on this slide at the top, is a way of kind of thinking through what the taxonomy level is that I'm looking for students to achieve. So here it's those that analyze the causes. What will they need to be able to know and be able to do in order to achieve proficiency? And then what would it look like to go above and beyond? So that's kind of listed up here. Another piece I noticed people are kind of adding to this scale is the what's it look like in action type deal. So what would an assessment question be, or a particular activity or conversation or question students might be able to answer at each level in this column, so that there's some intentionality around both the target as well as what proficiency looks like and formative assessment along the way. This year, K6 report cards will adopt this model where a 3 is proficiency and the 4 is advanced. And just know that as a part of the observation, usually there is a conversation around what is the target for the day. So maybe at the beginning of a unit, I'm still, I'm at level 1. So it's clear to your observer where you are. One additional thought on the performance scales is as we kind of roll that out district-wide, our instructional coaches have helped support the use of SharePoint so there can be collaboration on those performance scales. You probably have gotten an email in the last few days, probably from Callie Heck, about where to access the performance scales as different teams begin working on them. So it is in SharePoint, and I will send out a little screencast in the future of how to access those so that you can see the work being done at different grades if you're at the secondary level, or in different buildings if you're at the K6 level. So more to come on that. So there's the instructional tool, which we were just talking about for classroom teachers, and then there's the non-instructional tool. And this is for pretty much all the other roles in the district. And this tool is a little more generic because it's meant to apply to a whole bunch of different roles. There are 17 elements in this one. The scoring is similar to the instructional tool as far as there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 3 is applying. The final score is calculated the same way, the average of the highest score for each element. And each element scale has more details regarding what and to who the scale is referring. So you kind of have to read each one. This tool is very flexible because it applies to so many different roles. There are some pieces of it that are specific to if the person is working with students or offering some instruction. There are some elements that can be marked for those types of situations. Now both tools, classroom and non-classroom, are available to be viewed through eye observation. So just some clarification, eye observation is different than Marzano. Marzano is kind of the philosophy and element structure guy. Eye observation is the computer end of it. So Marzano did not write a teacher evaluation. He combined research and evaluated research on teaching and instruction. Learning Science, or Diamond Learning Services, it took all that stuff and designed a teacher evaluation around it. So when I talk about eye observation, it's the online component, and it's meant to house all of our information from all the observations, all the student growth stuff that's reported in the final evaluation score. So there's a couple pieces to this that are important to know. First, if you are doing a growth plan, you can see the part there to do the growth plan. If you would like to look up some specific information about a piece of the tool, the resource library has a lot of different things. This reports feature lets you look at data from your evaluations over time. And then this evaluations tab, I'll show you that one in a second, will let you actually see like scores and kind of a history of your experiences. So to actually see your evaluation data, you would go to that Evaluate tab. The top one says Evaluate, and the bottom one says View Completed. I think they say the same thing for a teacher sign-on. I should have used a teacher sign-on, but I don't have one. The Evaluate one will show you real-time right now what's in there. The View Completed will show you years past. And it will show you for every element. If you were scored multiple times, it will show you the dates you were scored, and if you can actually click on those on the real version, and it will show you if there were any comments. It'll actually take you back to the observation when that was scored. And then you can see over here, even though there were 2 marked here, and this is not mine, just so you know, I borrowed this from a teacher's. There are 2 marked here, only 1 is scored, and it's the highest score. So that way you can kind of see what it looks like in the end. And if I had put them all on here, then you would see a total score at the bottom. And again, that's under the Evaluate tab. Student growth, nothing is different this year from last year. So this is an identical slide. As you type in your students' names and then put their pre-assessment score, a post-assessment target will populate thanks to the formulas. And then when you put in the post-assessment score, based on where it is relative to the target, the student will either score a 2, a 3, or a 4. So every student will be assigned a 2, or 3, or a 4, depending on how close they got to the target. So if they hit the target, so in this case, these 2 here, Alexander Hamilton and Biggie Smalls, reached the target, and they are green, and that green equates to a 4. If a student gets within 85% of the percentage points needed to reach their target, they get a 3. And then they are yellow or orange. I don't know. And if they are below 85% of their target, then they get a red. And so those numbers all average together. And at the bottom of the template, you'll see the average score. It's important to note that unlike 2 years ago, you'd be less likely to get a perfect 4. Because it's an average of all your students, but you're more likely to get a higher, like a 3.6 or a 3.8, which calculates the same in the Marzano tool as a highly effective, just like the instructional tool does. So kind of keep that in mind. The templates are located on the Curriculum Office Weebly. If you need the link, let me know. Your principal also has that. And if for some reason one of your templates gets kind of funny, so if you cut and paste and accidentally grab a formula, sometimes it'll make it difficult to get the calculations accurate. You can always go and grab another template that's clean to work with. Another piece of this too I just want to mention is you do need to have every student rostered to you recorded in the workbook. There's a tab at the bottom of the workbook for you to record exempt students, and your principal should approve all exemptions. Finally, we have our calendar for the 18-19 school year. This should say 18-19 up here, so feel free to ignore that. Down here you'll see that we as an admin group are going to work to have at least 1 observation done for all staff members by December, and then have the second observation done by mid-May, with all information entered and ready to go by May 31st. Teachers are supposed to have an option to meet one-on-one to talk about their scores and to get some individual feedback. So you'll notice you get an email in the spring from your principal about that. And then we have our student growth data due so that I can get all the information the state needs to them by June 27th. And just to clarify, people have asked me, the only thing that actually goes to the state is the label, the effective, highly effective rating. There's no actual number sent to the state, and there's no a copy of the evaluation or anything more specific sent to the state. Just the label. Then finally, there's always more to communicate, so don't hesitate to call me or email or talk to your principal, and make sure that this is as seamless of a process as it possibly can be. So thanks for listening. I apologize that it was a part 1 and a part 2, but I hope that helped clarify anything about teacher evaluations. Thank you.